welcome to Scrollin', a podcast about the Elder Scrolls Online. I'm Ket.
I'm Davius.
This is episode number 59. Well, it's really all about the position, you know? Like, that's I think it really all comes back to that. And that's what I was just saying a little while ago about Betsy. Like, for some reason, that specific character is the one that I'm so much better at just playing smart with that character versus other characters. And I don't know if it's just because I know the character so well, I know what her limitations are, and I'm just kind of instinctively playing around that. But with her, I mean, I'm always really good about just kind of biding my time and waiting out the situation, staying alive, and just waiting for the right moment to attack. And kind of as a result, she never gets amazing kill counts. She usually gets like less than 10 kills, but it's usually like 8-0 or 9-1, something like that.
She's the efficient master. That's the crazy part to me, is that she never dies, and she's pretty squishy. Let's be honest. She's pretty squishy. But yeah, you know, just those two matches, I think you're 8-0 and then 7-1. So very little deaths, good kill counts, and you know, it's like an efficient. She's like a strike force, because you had much better kill death ratios than I did both matches, and my damage was actually a little bit higher. But you,
yeah, well, you know, it's not really a contest, but
but I was
yes,
better.
That is true.
Yes, what you said is true.
Yeah. Well, I think Betsy is super squishy, which I really only play squishy builds in general, but she is among the more squishy of my characters. And because of that, I kind of have to constantly be on alert, like on high alert, and always be surveying my surroundings and always make sure I'm in a favorable position, because just one misstep and that could be it. And I think that's a lot of it, because she's really always been that way. As long as this character has existed, she's always been like really squishy. She could maybe take a combo or two, and that's going to be it. So just because of that, I'm always light on my toes. I'm always like making sure I'm picking the right spot to fight from, and in general, she's always positive, right? She always has a positive kill death ratio. Worst case scenario, you know, she's in the positive.
I liked your quote in the match, the scared squirrel. That's your strategy.
Yeah, that's the secret to success for a squishy StamPlar, is just be a panicked squirrel.
Panicked squirrel.
And just constantly just be like, what was that? You know, just darting your eyes all around, just constant 360, just surveying everything around you. And we were on comms, and it helps a lot to just call out every single thing that you see, right?
Yep.
If you see someone coming up behind you or whatever, and I just have to always be on the move. This character, the only defense she really has is speed and the ability to cleanse negative effects. Quick reminder of Betsy. She's using Bone Pirate Deadly Strikes, which is a front bar only set with a two-hander. Master Bow on the back bar, Ring of the Wild Hunt, and one-piece Molag Kenna. I'm going to try something a little different this time. I'm going to just give a little bit more details about the build. So like I said, it's 5 Bone Pirate, 5 Deadly Strikes, which is a front bar only set with a two-hander, Master Bow on the back bar, Ring of the Wild Hunt, and one-piece Molag Kenna. It's 6 medium, 1 heavy, 4 well-fitted, 3 M-pen. The jewelry is all infused with weapon damage glyphs on all 3 pieces. The front bar weapon is a Nirnhund two-handed greatsword, also a sharpened maul, but it is also very, very good. But I'm going with Nirnhund greatsword for the better heals. Back bar is an infused master bow with a weapon damage glyph. She's an orc. She's using the Serpent Mundus, Dubious Cameron Throne, Tri-Stat Potions. And I thought I'd just mention her combo really quick. She throws caltrops on the ground, tries to get the enemy to stand in that, hits them with poison injection to get the master bow procced, tag them with Power of the Light, which has been buffed as of yesterday pretty nicely, hit them with the Crescent Sweep ultimate, stun them with the Javelin, and then finish them off with the jabs. And really, that's just kind of an example of the combo. I always say this whenever I talk about her combo. You really got to mix it up every single time, especially if you're fighting the same enemy more than once in a match. You don't want to deliver the combo exactly the same way every time because it is very predictable. But Crescent Sweep Ultimate, stun them, and then jab them while they're breaking the stun works pretty good a lot of the time.
Her whole overall combo kind of got buffed. You know, like you said, Power of the Light, great buff. This is a good patch for her. Power of the Light got a great buff, and then Caltrops got a little bit of buff.
Caltrops does more damage now. Now she's using Deadly Strikes, which was nerfed a little bit.
Wonder if that balances out a bit.
18% instead of 20% to your jabs on that set, but I don't know. It still felt pretty good. It's hard to get a good grasp on how balance feels right now because we've only done a handful of matches, and I really don't feel like I've had any like really sweaty matches quite yet. You know, I did a few earlier today. That really, it was how to put this. I was up against some inexperienced players, and so you know, damage felt like I was taking a lot less damage, of course, but it felt like I was doing a ton of damage because everyone was so squishy. Matches we just did were a little different. We had to fight a little bit, but even those, I don't feel like we're quite as sweaty as what we've seen a lot of the time. So it's hard to get a good read on if things really do feel survivable or not. I guess there was a couple of times, like I did take one combo and I just barely survived, and I was like, you know, I bet 2 days ago I would have died from that.
Yeah, I did have
a couple of moments like that.
It's interesting. It's very early, you know, a little too early to tell. Probably all the changes haven't quite taken place. You know, people will probably be making changes at least for the first week or two, and then we'll probably start seeing some changes by the weekend for sure.
I guess it's going to take a little bit. I was expecting to already be seeing quite a lot of that new Plague Break set, but I don't think I saw it at all in any of the matches I've done so far.
Yeah, I didn't see any of it.
So... but that's coming. I think people are just still farming that and getting that going. But Lord of Nords was running alongside Betsy, and he's undergone a bit of a transformation, which I'm excited to hear about because I think he's in pretty great shape right now.
Yeah. So, Lord of Nords, you know, on the last episode we talked about some changes. He's it's been a lot of fun lately. You know, he's kind of going through this like flush out phase of he was this kind of funny build that was just, you know, all about leaping. It was kind of fun. There it is. But you know, as the last couple episodes I've mentioned, he's kind of become my more favorite player that I like in BGs, and he's kind of the one that I gravitate to. So I've kind of, you know, we've been kind of flushing him out. You know, you've been a lot of help on kind of figuring things out with him, but yeah, he's kind of undergoing some changes. You know, we talked about the changes last episode with kind of changing the decisive traits. You know, he's getting more penetration. Now his changes have been more kind of ability-based changes. So let me just start off, just kind of a reminder of the build. It's 5-piece Champion of the Hist, 2-piece Bloodspawn, Malakath, Vatishran 2-hander Backbar, and then a 1-piece Trainee. Now he is going to have a slight change. I haven't made this change yet, but I am going to do another gear change a little bit. Right now he has 3-piece Potentates, so he has a neck Potentates piece with a front bar, dual wield Potentates. I'm actually going to change this to Master dual wield front bar, and then I'm going to switch to I'm going to drop the Trainee and the Potentate's neck and do 2-piece Endurance for a little bit more stats. You use this this Master Dual Wield, and I think, kind of from talking to you, I think this is going to be a pretty big damage buff.
Oh, yeah. And so you'll probably end up getting rid of Rapid Strikes as your spammable and just use Rending Slashes as your spammable instead.
Drop Rapid, yep. But kind of going into the details of the abilities, man, it's been so fun kind of dialing in with this character. You know, me and you have so many characters, and very rarely, at least for me, I know that you kind of have characters in phases, but Lord of Nords has been the character for me that I've really dialed into, and I don't know if I've hit a character that I've hit this level of just kind of dialing in and these subtle, you know, these very subtle tweaks that make a big difference. It's been a lot of fun, but so the ability change, you know, as I've mentioned in the past, I used to have Race Against Time on his back bar, so it caused me to have quite a few magic abilities. So I wanted to get his magic up. But his sustain was always kind of suffered a little bit because I was trying to go for tri-stat, maximum stats there. So I actually dropped Race Against Time, and I picked up Protective Plate, which is the wings ability on a DK. And so that became my snare immunity. And then I picked up the dual wield because he's front bar dual wield. I pick up the quick cloak. And that actually is the major expedition, but also major evasion at the same time.
Yeah, that's a fantastic ability.
Amazing ability. So
major evasion. Do not sleep on major evasion, man. It's so good.
So many AoE abilities out there doing crazy damage right now. So that's a great change. And also, this allowed me to swap foods. I was doing tri-stat food. Now I was able to switch to the Dubious Cameron Throne, which was able to get my sustain up, which was it's just made a huge difference on the character.
Right, because you don't need so much magicka now, so you can get rid of the tri-stat food.
Dropped nice. A magicka ability. Now I was able to get the sustain up. Another huge change. I finally, shattered through the stubbornness. So I switched from Take Flight to Ferocious Leap. It's a 12 more ultimate cost, which on this character, he still gets a crazy amount of ultimate. He's still a Nord, still has Blood Spawn, still a DK. He gets plenty of ultimate. It's 12 more ultimate, but now it's a 31,000, which, let's talk BG talk here. 15,000 in BGs. A 15,000 damage shield every time he's doing that leap, which he does quite a bit. And it's just made a massive difference for survival. And you always make a great point. When you lose CP, the damage is pretty much a wash. I think Take Flight does a little bit more damage. It's like 1,000 more damage when you take CP out of it. But that 15,000 damage shield every time I'm leaping is just huge for survival.
Yeah, I think it's in particular in a no CP environment. I think the Magicka morph, even on a stamina build, is by far the way to go easily. Yeah.
It's really, Lord North, I've been really kind of dialing in on what this build is and getting it more effective. It's been, like I said, I think I'm just...
Well, the protective plate, having those wings on there, I mean, yeah, it's snare removal, but it's also an answer to ranged attackers, which that's something that you've been kind of saying quite a bit lately, is like ranged attackers are kind of a problem for this character.
It's huge, as you just said in the past, I've mentioned I kind of run out there and then just become kind of a target dummy for those ranged attacks, and now having an answer to that. It's impressive how tanky this character has become without making a whole lot of changes. So just to kind of run through, damage wise, I haven't really made any changes, but if anything, I've upped the sustain a little bit. But I have the damage shield that I just mentioned from the leap, 15k damage shield when I leap. The wings, I still have the snare removal from those, but 50% less damage from projectiles. So I have an answer to that. And then the major evasion from the quick cloak.
It's like a really nicely rounded setup now, just from making a few minor tweaks.
It is. He has become much, much tankier without having to make a whole lot of sacrifices.
Those wings with the quick cloak combo. I use the same two abilities with my StamDK, and it's perfect, especially those moments when it's like, man, I need to get to a line of sight point. I'm about to die. Just flap those wings, get the expedition from the quick cloak, and you'll probably make it. To that behind that rock or wherever you're trying to get to.
That actually just happened in a BG we were doing. Is that we joked I was trying to get out of dodge and go around out of line of sight around a corner, and this other player on another team was chasing. He ended up chasing after me. I survived just enough, got the leaped, got the damage shield, was able to get myself back up. Yeah. And as a team, we took him down. And we kind of joked that we said, oh, he shouldn't have chased, he should have done it. Then you were like, well, you were pretty low health. I probably would have chased too. But it's all those things, he's pretty darn tanky. And that's why I'm really excited to get that Master Dual Wield, because I think that's going to be just the cherry on top for making him hit a little bit harder. On his spammable, I think that's gonna be real nice.
Oh yeah, with that Vadishran back bar, combo that Vadishran proc in with that, and that is absolutely going to be a lot of damage.
Yeah. Because that's really, if I had to knock him one knock right now, it's kind of his kind of burst spammable damage. When I don't have a leap ready and somebody's not in execute, his damage is a little light right now, and I think that's going to be the perfect fix for that. So I think he's going to be in good shape.
Now that I think about it, he's actually a pretty similar build to my StamDK, Sally.
Bad Sally.
He's using a 5-piece set on his body with blood spawn.
Yep.
Right? Sally has a 5-piece set on her body and blood spawn, and then you have 2 endurance and Malakath on your jewelry. Right? Is that right?
Well, right now I don't have that yet, but I will have that. Yeah,
that's the plan, right?
That's the plan.
That's what I'm thinking of, like the future version. So 2 endurance and Malakath. Sally has 2 trainee and Malakath, so kind of same diff almost.
Yeah.
And
Stats.
then Master's dual wield on one bar, and then a different arena 2-hander. We have different arena 2-handers, but we still each have an arena 2-hander. So it's like a lot of similarities with how our builds are set up, or our 2 StamDKs.
Yeah.
It's like 5-piece set, 2-piece monster set, a 2-piece jewelry set with Malakath, and then arena dual wield, arena 2-hander.
It's kind of funny how that's become my new kind of comfortable character setup is just leave the weapons for some arena weapons, and then do 1 5-piece set, a monster set, and then kind of figure out the jewelry with usually a mythic as one of the jewelry pieces, and then kind of figure out the other 2 pieces with kind of those set fillers. Over the last week or so, I've made some changes, some characters, and I've become real comfortable with that setup. I really like that setup to have. You get your 5-piece and your monster set, so you kind of have 2 set bonuses, and then you get get good stats with those filler pieces. With
get
that
a mythic.
one, you got 1 mythic in there to get what you need.
It's crazy to think like how far build diversity has come.
Yeah,
just in the past year or two, like so many new build possibilities, and there's all these cool just filler, all these little filler sets and old filler sets that have been reworked to be like easier to use and stuff in that way. It's like you can kind of come up with almost any combination of setups that you want, and then just whatever's left, just okay, I'll put 2 endurance in there or training or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it was a year or 2 ago. It was like, all right, what's your 5.5.2 setup?
Yeah, 5.5.2 with a back bar arena weapon. Maybe.
Yeah, that was the diversity. It's like, well, what are you using on your back bar? What's your front bar only set?
Yeah, it's cool, and there's a lot of really wild possibilities. I was gonna wait a little bit to talk about this, but I'm gonna bring it up right now. Just on the topic of weird build possibilities that are super viable and really good. We have a friend that we play with. He's one of our guild mates. Goes by UncleSam on PCNA.
Mm-hmm.
He plays a few characters, but I usually see him playing a stamina necromancer. And Davius, back me up here. This dude is an absolute monster.
Yeah, he is. He is a fantastic player.
Fantastic human being. By all accounts, very friendly, very jovial, really great dude. But just hope he's on your team. That's all seriously. I got to say.
And he's one of those players too that he's hard as heck to kill, and he will kill you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he's also one of those. It's like. It's not over till it's over. Like you might think like, oh, this dude's toast. Let me just execute him real quick. Don't be so sure.
True.
Another thing I really like about Uncle Sam is oftentimes he and I both play early in the mornings, like before we go to work and stuff. So I just like the fact that I'll see him in a BG early in the morning, and his name is Uncle Sam, so I'm just like, morning Sam, and it's just like this. Morning
Sam. It's the digital version of like the 2 old people meeting at the coffee shop.
Yeah, we're just kind of punching in the clock, like it's morning, like the Sam. Daily grind kind of thing. Pretty funny. But I've been talking to him a little bit about his StamCro build, and I asked him if I could talk about it on the show, and he said, sure, go ahead. But it's a really unusual build, and I thought it would be fun to talk about just because he's so good at it. I mean, the results speak for themselves. I mean, this dude just always has an excellent kill count every single time. So one set that he's using that it took me a minute to wrap my head around this, but he's using 5 pieces Adept Rider.
We have bashed this set in the past, by the way. We've not been kind to it.
Yeah, I think most people, I mean, definitely myself included, like if you ask me like, hey Kat, should I use Adept Rider in my PvP build? I would be like, no way, dude. It's what the 5-piece does is it gives you Major Expedition and Major Gallop at all times. Now, Major Gallop is totally irrelevant, right? Because you have that at all times anyway if you're playing PvP. But the Major Expedition at all times, I think before I talked to Sam about this, I would have said like, well, there's like 100 sources of Major Expedition. You don't want to waste a whole 5-piece set for that, you know? And I think a lot of people would probably say the same thing. But Sam's case is this allows him to have the bar setup that he wants, because otherwise he would only be able to get Major Expedition by taking something off of his bar that he doesn't want to give up. But another really strong perk to this set, giving you Major Expedition at all times, is that's at all times, including like while you're attacking someone, while you're casting abilities, both defensive and offensive. You know, you never have to slow down to do any of that. Like almost any other source of Major Expedition, you're going to have it for a few seconds and then it's going to wear off. So like usually when you're attacking someone, you don't have it. But you can see it like when he's in a battleground, when you're fighting against him, and he's running circles around you, and he's not even holding the sprint button. You know, he just has that Major Expedition constantly, so he's difficult to target. Meanwhile, the whole time he's just nailing you with these dizzying swings over and over and over again, and it's very effective.
Yeah.
So Adept Rider, I consider my opinion changed on this.
Yeah. Well, I just love the fact that there's a player out there, an effective, very good player. Can't stress that enough about UncleSam. Taking a set that you wouldn't think, making it good. I mean, just what a great example of you know, what we always talk about. You know, what works best for you is what's going to be best for you.
Yeah, like if someone turns their nose up at a set, you know,
you never know.
If you're really looking at it and thinking like, I don't know, maybe I think I might be able to make that work. Heck, try it. You know, why not? The other 5-piece set that he's using, I blanked this out because I wanted it to be a surprise.
Yeah, I don't know this set, so I'm curious.
It's 5 pieces, Stoon's Favor.
Oh man!
Can you believe it?
You did not just say that. You did not just hit me. We got UncleSam is the Stoon.
Ring the bell.
He's a goon.
Who? We need to get a Stoon's.
Get
Stoon's
this
bell.
guy. Get this guy a shirt. UncleSam just made my day. He's making it happen. Not that we're not all wearing that.
Oh, every one of my characters, 10 pieces Stoons, of course.
10-piece Stoons.
So yeah, 5 Adept Rider, 5 Stoon's Favor, which is a front bar only set. He's using a 2-hander. It's a dizzy spam build, basically. So that's just an interesting setup right there. Stoons is... People do use Stoons, but it's not... I don't think it's the most popular set, but it's fun just because our guild is named Stoons Goons, so that's just a good time.
Remind me again, not that I don't know, but remind me again of the 5-piece Stoons.
Here, let me make sure I don't get it wrong.
I know you have it memorized too.
I have it memorized. I'm going to edit out this Googling part here, so...
I have a stone tablet that has Stoons full 2 through 5-piece bonus on it.
When you deal damage to an enemy who is off balance, your physical and spell penetration is increased by 5312 for 10 seconds.
Which Dizzy Swing's still setting people off balance, right? Correct.
Dizzy Swing sets people off balance, and also, like, if you deal any kind of damage to anyone who's off balance. So if you have AoE on the ground and someone who's off balance is just standing in it, then it procs that set as well. So that's it's actually a really good set to use in Battlegrounds, where... In particular, deathmatch where there's just a high concentration of players in a given space, someone's off balance. Surely, at least one of those players is off balance. So as long as you have like caltrops or something on the ground, it'll be getting procced pretty regularly. And if not, Dizzy Swing will set them off balance. So at the very least, 5 Adept Rider, 5 Stoon's Favor, front bar only. On the back bar, on his Stamina Necromancer, he's using a Vatishran Frost Staff, which I think is really interesting.
I love the just craziness of this build so far.
I didn't have a chance to ask him. I haven't noticed him using any Frost Staff abilities other than the debuff that procs the Vatishran staff.
Sure.
So I'm guessing he's just using that ability, and I'm guessing the reason for a Frost Staff is just to have the option to block using Magicka on your back bar, which for a stamina build that could be pretty handy.
That is good. That is a great idea.
He hasn't confirmed that that's the reason for it, but I was looking to see if he was using Wall of Frost or something like that. I wasn't seeing anything like that. I was just seeing that beam. So I'm guessing he just likes to have that Magicka option for blocking. And then he's using the Malakath Band of Brutality and One Piece Baylord. So that's the full build. 5 Adept Rider, 5 Students Favor, front bar only with a 2-hander, Vatishran, Frost Staff on the back bar, Malakath, One Piece Baylord. He says it's 5 medium, 2 heavy, 3 harmony on the jewelry. He is using the Grave Robber synergy combo, which again, that's something I associate with MagCros, not StamCros, but take it from me, he uses it to great effect.
Yeah, uses it well.
He's an Orc, Serpent Mundus, and that's the build. So shout out to Uncle Sam, great player, great dude, and a really interesting build.
And it works. That's awesome. Works. We got to talk about the Betsy Davies grouping that we had, where I DC'd, which is unfortunate. But you noticed the difference.
Yeah, so it was a pretty interesting experience. We were having a pretty bad night that night, BG wise. Like we were doing a lot of different. That's a
nice way to say it.
We were doing a lot of different duos, trying a lot of different character combos out and stuff like that. And really, I don't know, did we do like 3 or 4 in a row that were just like not a good time? We were just getting wrecked by pre-mades. Really, there was one particular player that they're a totally nice person. No beef with this player whatsoever, other than they're extremely good. And if they're in the BG and if they're not on your team, you're probably not going to have a good time.
Yeah. Well, if they're not on your team.
Yeah, if they're not on your team.
You're having a great time if they're on your team.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So he was just in every match and never on our team. And so we're just like, try to avoid him as much as you can, please. But anyway, we were like, all right, enough's enough. Let's have a good match. Let's go to our old standbys. Davius, you go get on your main, which is also named Davius, which is your MagPlar healer. I'll get on Betsy, my StamPlar, who's my main. This is the classic duo. This is like the characters we started doing BGs with.
Yeah, that's what we learned. Yeah, this is really where we kind of learned BGs with these two characters.
Surely it'll be a good time. So we log in with these characters. We get into an actual death match. And it was going great. And we were having an awesome time. We were winning. We were super winning. Davius gets booted to the login screen for whatever reason, which that's been happening a lot.
I know. I gotta figure this out. If email Scrolling Podcast if you guys know the fix to. For some reason, I just get booted to the login screen. It just says an error message has occurred, and that's all it says.
Anyway, but yeah, as soon as that happened, though, I did notice, like, since it was mid BG, because your healer gives like a bunch of damage buffs, right? It gives you like what 700 something extra damage or something like that.
It's about a 600. Let's see, 3, and then it's around 600 weapon and spell damage to the group.
About to be a little bit more, I know, but whenever you make some changes down the road, but anyway, I could tell a difference because whenever you DC, not only that I no longer have a healer, so I had to play a lot more defensively, but then when I did get a hold of someone, I was missing a lot of damage.
Maybe the best DC I've ever had because, it's such a unique build. And I know that the numbers are there, but this is the first time that I've actually been validated that there's a difference when he's there compared to when he's not there. So maybe, I don't like DCing, but that one might be okay going forward.
The one time DCing was a good thing. Oh yeah, Betsy still feels great, and that build has been the Bone Pirate Deadly Strikes Master Bow Wild Hunt build. That's been locked in for, gosh, I think almost 2 years now. I want to say
Betsy's the untouchable. She's untouchable.
I don't see it changing because I don't. It's like there's things I could do to give her more damage, but it was like I would be taking away from like the essence that is Betsy. Like her whole thing is, I think that Bone Pirate set is just indispensable for her playstyle and the way, kind of what I was saying, how I can just kind of hang out, bide my time, make sure I'm in a good position. I always have the resources I need to make sure that I'm in the right spot and all that stuff because of Bone Pirate. I don't think I'd be able to do it otherwise. And if I was trying to stay on the move that much and trying to be that agile and hyper aware all the time with 2 straight damage sets, it'd be difficult. It'd be pretty difficult.
Speaking of Templars, I got to talk about my other MagPlar here.
Okay.
I gotta dive in this too a little bit. This is
I haven't heard from this dude in quite a while.
This is gonna be an open discussion. So, Bard of Sovereign Guard. He's a Nord. This is my other MagPlar that I created so that I could have a MagPlar that does deal damage.
Right.
The current setup on him is 5-piece Clever Alchemist, 5-piece War Maiden, Wild Hunt, 1-piece Swarm Mother, 1-piece Trainee, and then I do the back bar Maelstrom Resto. And this is the build where I went full into the Clever Alchemist. So I did infused jewelry across the board with the potion reduction glyphs on all of them so that I could pretty much have Clever Alchemist up at all times. And the whole point of this was that with War Maiden, it was supposed to be a lot of damage, and this was going to be, supposed to make this build hit hard. I played it quite a bit, and I just never felt like it wasn't not hitting hard, but I just never felt like it was this overpowering build that I was expecting it to be, where it just would hit people crazy hard. And it's a little squishy because of how much I'm putting into that. And I really kind of just took the build and started looking at it, and with how much I'm investing into this potion reduction, I've got 3 infused jewelry glyphs with potion reduction in all 3. So I'm not getting any stats from that jewelry, and I'm not getting any weapon damage or sustain from that jewelry. And it's the perfect example of I'm going so much into that I'm losing elsewhere. And so by having that Clever Alchemist up all the time, that while that seems like a major buff, it's actually not that much extra damage because I'm sacrificing so much to get there.
Like when you subtract like the glyphs that you could be using and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so Clever Alchemist, I think it's 600 plus weapon damage, but 3-pieced infused jewelry is also 600 plus weapon damage. So it's really just a trade out there. It's not even like I'm getting anything extra if I was changing those out. And so when I kind of came to that realization of, it looks like it's a lot because of the buffs I'm getting. It's not actually that much because how much I'm sacrificing.
It would only be worth it, I think, if you weren't using those jewelry trades. Like if you did 3 infused with damage glyphs and Clever Alchemist, and you just wait for those windows of time when it's active to really go hard on offense.
I think that's the way to play Clever Alchemist, is that you wait for those windows. That's not really my style, but I think that's the best way to play Clever Alchemist, is that you choose your windows and you go all in on those windows. I'm much more of I don't want to wait for windows, and so I'm kind of doing an overhaul on the build, kind of changing it out to be much more kind of efficient across the board. So the new idea for the build, I just have this on paper. I haven't put it together yet, so there's some wildness to this. The old Davius uniqueness. Just prepare yourself.
Oh boy.
First of all, this one's going to take you a minute, I think, to swallow. So just, I'll just throw it out there. We'll allow a moment. No jabs.
No jabs.
No jabs on this MagPlar of my new potential setup here.
I've had a no jabs MagPlar setup before.
They're out there.
I'm not super skeptical.
They're out there. Okay. So the new setup is still 5-piece War Maiden. You're going to like this one. 2-piece Chudan.
Ooh, but then you're not using the rune?
No, I'm not using the rune.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah. Malakath, 2-piece Willpower, and then a Vatishran Inferno front bar and a Maelstrom Resto back bar.
Okay.
So
I guess if you're not using jabs, I guess Inferno does make sense rather than lightning. Yeah.
Yep. So I went with the Vatishran Inferno front bar. The spammable is the Dark Flare spammable, which is the it does have a cast time, which is it's essentially a magicka version of like a dizzying swing. It's the 0.6 second cast time.
Okay.
But the Dark Flare spammable has a 12k tooltip, which is pretty darn good, and it also gives the empower for 3 seconds, which is nice.
Okay.
It also gives major defile to the target and nearby enemies. So pretty good tooltip, pretty good debuffs.
What's the cast time on that?
0.6 seconds. So it's essentially a magicka version of dizzying swing.
But it's long range though, isn't it? Isn't it like a fully long range thing?
Yes. So it's a long range attack. So that's kind of nice. That makes it, easier to hit with.
So what's your combo? You got Power of the Light, or what's your full
here's
attack?
the other thing. Radiant Oppression is my execute.
Okay.
Also a 12k tooltip, but anybody, the Radiant Oppression is that beam that Templar have. So a 500% increase in damage if they're in execute range.
Are you using entropy or whatever, or that dot that gives you your damage buff?
Yes. So
the Mage's Guild ability.
Yep. So I
Degeneration.
Yes, Degeneration is what I'm using to get my damage buff. So throw that dot on them, get the damage buff, and that's really kind of where I'm going with the build. Is I like the simplicity of it. So I have Chudan, and really all it is you throw the Degeneration to get the damage buff, and then it's the Dark Flare, it's the beam when needed, and then for the ultimate, I'm going a little old school here. Soul Assault.
Oh, okay. So you got double beams.
Yep. So it's a little bit of a beam build, which those do exist. Those are out there.
Wait, so did you have Power of the Light or not? Or
I do not have Power of the Light. No Power of the Light.
Okay. So it's Degeneration, and then Dark Flare is your spammable, and then you execute. Right.
And then Radiant Oppression. So, and that's kind of what I like about it. It's a pretty simplistic combo. It's like you said, the Degeneration, Dark Flare spammable. You get the Empower on your light attacks with that Dark Flare spammable. You're stopping their heals, and then Radiant Oppression when they get execute. And then if you have that ultimate, the Soul Assault. The Soul Assault tooltip on the build is 95,000 damage over 6 seconds. That's a high number.
That's a big number. Now, are you worried about your sustained suffering without the rune?
So here's the thing. I got you covered. So the build itself, I've got good sustain. The sustain on it is I've got about 1,800 recovery, so not bad. But the max stats on the build, 31, almost 32,000 magicka with 30,000 health.
That's pretty good. I wonder if you're going to end up wanting that rune. I feel like 1,800 is decent if you have your class's primary sustain tool, like assuming that is in the mix.
True. Well, like I said, it's just on paper now, so we'll have to see. Yeah. When I put it together, obviously changes are very much going to happen. So
it's not unheard of. I've seen people forego the rune, but I don't know.
And it is tough. The rune is a tough one just because it's such a great Templar ability. But the way that I have it set up right now is the reason for Chudan is because I have Inner Light on both bars, and that's to get that max magicka up even higher to increase that damage.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the trade-off right now, but that could very much change.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the
I just
Soul
have to
Assault,
play it and see how it feels. If it feels good, then just go with it.
Soul Assault for the ultimate, so that hits really hard.
You don't see a lot of Soul Assault these days, but it's a good ultimate. It's super strong.
Hits hard. And so in really kind of, Dark Flare, Radiant Oppression, Soul Assault, those are all magic damage dealing abilities.
It's a good meta to be using beams because they're not dodgeable and everyone's a roly-poly these days. So it's really, I'm surprised we don't see it more.
And those are all magic dealing, and so they're all getting buffed from that War Maiden. So that's all sticking to the War Maiden. So it should be a lot of damage. It should have really good heals. It's got the Breath of Life. It's got a 12k tooltip Breath of Life. And these are all no CP, so and it's got really good max stats. And like I said, I think my favorite part about it on paper is how simplistic the build is. It's not a lot of abilities. I'm not having to keep a lot of buffs up. It's got the Mighty Chudan, so I don't have to keep the armor buff up. It's just this, you're just kind of light attack weaving with that dark flare. If they get in the execute, you're throwing the beam on them. And when you have that ultimate, you're hitting them with that soul assault, which should hit pretty hard. And so, and it does have Malakath on there. So all these that's helping all these hit harder. It's got the race against time, so that's it's got speed and mobility. So I really like the simplicity of the build to kind of keep it simple. A lot of stuff happening without me having to keep it up.
Yeah, that's kind of how my Warden is. She also uses Mighty Chudan, and really the only ability that she has to kind of keep active is the Netch. And then she has a Shimmering Shield as needed, just when the situation calls for it. But that I like that. It's like I really just kind of have to worry about keeping the Netch active, and everything else is good. I'll just keep my HOTS going or going offense. And Chudan's great for that. But I'm very curious to see if you keep it on that character long term.
And here's the good thing. If I do swap out Chudan, it does make the build, it's a little bit more to the build because I'll have to throw the armor buff back on there and things like that. But that does open up the possibility of a monster set. So that opens up the ability to maybe try to get a little bit more damage out of the build. But on paper, I really like the tooltips and the damage, the potential damage out of it. Really when I made this MagPlar, that's kind of where I went with the Clever Alchemist. I wanted this really hard-hitting Magicka build. And so I think this new setup allows for kind of this unique idea for a build, but also one that could hit pretty hard.
Yeah, I really like playing with MagPlar. It's the perfect, just like, I think everyone talks about Wardens like they're a Swiss Army knife, but I kind of think of my MagPlar more so that way than my Warden. I think of my Warden as a healer, and I think of my MagPlar as like 50-50, whatever you need. You want damage, you want heals, I got plenty of both.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, we go into BGs with your MagPlar, and you're like, all right, should we go a little heavy heals or we go a little heavy damage? It depends on what the combo we have is.
Yeah, MagPlar is great. Nice, man. The only other build I've been playing a lot with is my StamDK, which I talked about a little bit earlier, just that there's some similarities in how it's built to your StamDK. The sets are a little different. So she's using Bone Pirate, just like Betsy. It's the same build I've been talking about the last couple of episodes. Bone Pirate, I just happen to have it in my bank, and I just put it on her just to have some gear to wear because I wanted to play with this character. And I think it's just going to stay on there because it just feels really, really good. Same with Betsy. Sally here, my DK, is pretty squishy. It's a full medium armor. I would consider her to be a glass cannon build. And she has to stay on her toes and stay on the move and be very situationally aware. And having that Bone Pirate, again, just totally enables that playstyle. And I know, like, I'm just going to go on a whole tangent about Bone Pirate again, I guess.
Don't sleep on Bone Pirate.
But sustain sets are kind of not popular right now. And I think for good reason. Sustain's fairly easy compared to past metas. But for certain play styles and for my particular kind of play style, I think Bone Pirate is a pretty good exception because not only does it give you that good sustain, but it's also giving you a pretty good amount of max stats as well. So it kind of, to me, doesn't really feel like all the way like a sustain set. It's like giving me that sustain and other stuff that I need in the build as well.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing about Bone Pirate is it's easy to look at it as this sustain set. But honestly, with like you said, with the way sustain is right now, it's pretty easy to come by. Really what Bone Pirate kind of is now is a max stat set, which those are really great right now. That's kind of the same thing with my my StamDK is with that Champion of the Hist. I really kind of plan to replace that set, but when I really kind of started looking at it and talking about dialing in the set, that secret, I always looked at that set as the heroism, the minor heroism at all times. But when I looked at kind of the subtle 5-piece of it giving so much max stats, that ended up being the more important part. I think the Bone Pirates kind of become that same thing, is that the sustain is just kind of a nice little extra, but it's also giving really nice max stats as well.
Yeah, it's like any other like investment into sustain, you're giving up other stats. Bone Pirate's just kind of like the one exception that kind of lets you have everything. So Bone Pirate, 2 Bloodspawn, 2 Trainee, Malakath, the Maelstrom Two-Hander, and the Master's Dual Wield, all sharpened maces. And I'll go through the details here again. It's 5 medium, 1 heavy, 1 light, 4 impend, 3 divines. The jewelry is 2 robust, 1 infused, with weapon damage glyphs on all 3. And like I said, the weapons are sharpened, all sharpened mauls all around. She's an orc using the Serpent Mundus and Dubious Cameron Throne, Tri-Stat Potions. Her combo is really simple. She just charges in with Stampede, which activates the Maelstrom Arena two-hander. Then she fossilizes them, weapon swap, and hit them with Rending Slashes, which activates the Master's Dual Wield. And then I just spam the Poison Breath a few times until they're in execute range, and then a bar swap and execute. So it's a lot of bar swapping. She's not like a lot of characters of mine that have like a defensive back bar and an offensive front bar. It's all mixed up on both bars. It just kind of has to be that way.
Sally she's impressive in my mind, because back when the proc meta was huge, she was a full-on proc meta and she just annihilated. And we talked about this in past episodes, is that when this proc meta died, Sally was going to kind of die with it. You're going to have to rethink it, and you've made changes obviously to adjust, but she is just as probably not just as oppressive, but man, she seems like it. I mean, she is the one in Battlegrounds that's getting double-digit kills. She is slaughtering. You hit these grooves, like you'll just be in the middle of a battleground and just Sally goes on this tangent and it's just like kill. I mean,
dude, when she gets on a streak,
oh
man,
gosh, she's just. I mean, it is.
This is the character that feels the most like it feels the most like playing Doom on this character. It's like she gets on these kill streaks.
At some point, it just gets out of hand.
And really the only change I made from the proc meta, like her jewelry and weapons are exactly the same. It's just the body pieces. I did have a 5-piece proc set and a monster proc set, and I just replaced those with Bone Pirate and Bloodspawn. So better stats, better survivability. And then I kept the 2 arena weapons. Those are the only 2 procs I have left. But like I was saying on the last episode, since she has such better stats now, there's a lot more wiggle room to pump up that weapon damage and get that sustain in a good spot, so that those arena procs are still very strong. I love the fact that she has no range whatsoever. It's just a two-hander and dual wield. She has to get up close and personal to do anything whatsoever. It very much fits kind of my idea of her personality. She wouldn't be caught dead with a bow in her hand. Get that out of here.
No. I think my favorite example of Sally recently is, we were doing some Battlegrounds and I was on Lord of Nords, my StamDK, and I think you were on a healer. We did some matches, and we had been playing quite a bit. We'd been playing quite a bit that week, and I was saying, man, my StamDK feels great. And I had a couple matches where I was like 12-2 and 10-1. And I got one maybe where it's 14-3, and I was like, man, I'm feeling great. And then we were like, all right, let's time to change it up. We're feeling good, so we swapped it up. You upped on Sally. I think the first match you had like 28 kills, and I was like, what the frick? Why is my StamDK not getting that many kills? It just cracked me up. I was like, man, Sally, she's vicious.
Sally goes hard.
Sally is vicious,
and she is squishy. I mean, it's a medium armor build. I mean, she's got the blood spawn for a little bit of resistance, but she's still very much I would consider her a glass cannon build otherwise. Mm-hmm. But like I keep saying about that Bone Pirate, she has just enough survivability to survive a combo, and as long as I'm quick and I can react quickly enough, I always have the stamina I need to respond and recover and stay out of harm's way long enough until I can get back in the fight. It's all because of Bone Pirate, and I can keep going hard with this character. I never have to retreat for very long. That's what I really like about it. She's lost a ton of damage from what she was during the proc meta. She doesn't kill people as fast as she used to. But the play style is just so much more fun because I don't have to be reserved. I don't have to worry about like saving a little extra just in case or whatever like that. So it actually, in a weird way, feels more aggressive, even though the damage is less.
Old bad Sally. She's 100%. She's bloodbath all the way.
I strongly recommend that build for any aspiring StamDKs out there. Bone Pirate, Bloodspawn, Trainee, Malakath, Master, Dual Wield, Maelstrom, Two-Hander, medium armor build. It sounds squishy, but that Bloodspawn helps a lot. And like we were talking about with your DK, Davius, that combo of the protective plate wings and the quick cloak, it makes the character a lot more survivable than you might otherwise think. Plus having all that stamina and stamina recovery, like I was saying, to just be able to respond to things. So you have an answer to ranged attackers. You have that major evasion. Can't stress enough the importance of major evasion, right? I mean, let's just off the top of our heads again, just make a short list. I mean, Dawnbreaker, the Dragon Knight's Leap, Blast Bone, Sub Assault, Jabs. I mean, basically
on and on.
Everything that kills you is AoE. So having 20% reduced damage from all of that, from an ability that's fantastic to use anyway, and it deals damage to people that's around you as well.
We didn't even mention that. It's
It's not even
damage.
It's not bad damage. Such a good ability.
Yeah. Old bad Sally. You can always, if you're looking for, always look at the off-beaten path biker bar or bullying anybody using a ranged weapon.
Yeah, and talking smack to healers.
Yeah, and making fun of healers, although she secretly does appreciate them.
She does. She'll never say it. But
she'll never say it. Never admit it.
She's been my go-to. Like anytime I sit down to play some BGs, it's like, well, like my reflex is to log in with Sally, and I have to consider if I want to pick someone else or not.
She's wrecking right now, man.
If I just want to feel good about myself and just get good results guaranteed, Sally.
Yeah, she's doing it.
I've played with some other stuff here and there, but it's really just Sally and Betsy have kind of been my main two. I think I'm going to be getting into some MagDK here pretty soon, or I've been playing with some MagDK, but I think I'm really going to be getting into it again here pretty soon, and that's probably what will be coming up in future episodes, is some MagDK talk, and who knows what else. We'll see. We tried these new dungeons out last night. What did you think, Davis? Did you like them?
I thought they were pretty good. I think the Red Petal Bastion was the much better looking dungeon of the two.
I thought that one was the cooler one. I'll tell you, I'll be honest, I thought they were just kind of dungeons, but in both cases.
Nothing wowed you. I get that.
I was not super dazzled. I did think the final boss in the Dread Cellar, though difficult, was cool.
Man, yeah. That's what I was actually just about to say. It's a spectacle to watch that guy. That's a boss fight that's got a lot going on. He's doing a lot of cool abilities.
There's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of his attack animations just look super cool.
Also a tough fight.
Very difficult fight. We did not complete it. We tried that one on Veteran, and it was actually a pretty smooth run up until that final boss. We had a pretty decent, we had two randoms in our group, and we just got lucky. They were actually pretty high level and played pretty well. But we just got to that last boss, and it was like a brick wall. Just suddenly, we honestly breezed through it up until that last boss. We just gave up. I think we tried maybe, I don't know, over 10 times, I would say.
And it just wasn't working out.
It was just like, it's not happening. No naming and shaming, but I blame the healer.
We did have a healer. We talked about this. I think, just simply put, I think that me as the tank and you as the one of the major DPS, I think we were having to heal each other. We were having to heal ourselves a little too much, where a lot of our focus was on healing ourselves, keeping ourselves alive.
I could hardly attack the boss at all. I was focusing on keeping myself alive so much.
I think if we were able to focus more on our duties and the healer take over a little bit more, I think we just simply need more HOTS. I think the healer, I think you made a really great point. We had started a couple fights, and there were several times where right off the bat, that guy hits hard. And my health would just kind of stay at 50%.
Your health bar is just staying there.
Yeah, just for, for 20 seconds, 20, 30 seconds, I'm just sitting at 50% health. And That fight and that boss fight, I don't think that's gonna work.
It's a tough fight. Someone in one of the guilds that I'm in described it as Molag Kenna, but with fire, which I do think is a pretty apt description, except this fight is more difficult than Molag Kenna, I think. Kenna, I think, is actually a fairly easy fight for a DLC dungeon.
Yeah.
But I think the DPS was good. I think your tanking was just fine. I really just think we needed a little bit stronger heals, and that would have been it. But that's really the best part of the Dread Cellar. Otherwise, I thought it seemed like a fairly humdrum dungeon to me.
The visuals of that one didn't really wow me, and the other bosses didn't really wow me. But I will say that boss was very cool, and that boss fight, there was, I caught myself multiple times talking about how cool his abilities are and how it was cool how hard he hits. It was kind of cool, but the rest of the dungeon, I think, was...
Yeah, that was the most notable part of it. And so we tried that on veteran, gave up, and we're like, let's just do Red Petal Bastion on normal.
We're gonna do normal here.
Let's just cruise through this one. And I agree with you. This one does look cooler. There's like outdoor areas. You kind of go in and out of different like indoor, outdoor areas. But yeah, it does. It's the better looking dungeon. Although I don't know if any of those bosses really stand out in my memory.
I'll be honest. I can't remember the final boss fight from.
Like I said, in both cases, I feel like they're just kind of dungeons.
Yeah.
Like I remember like Bloodroot Forge. That was a dungeon that I was like dazzled by that one. Like that one was a really cool looking dungeon. What's the one where you fight the werewolf at the very end? You fight Baylorg, and it's like the big Hersine in the background thing.
I can't remember the name of it, but I mean, we'll even talk here more recent ones. The one in the Vampire Manor where you go through the house and there's all these different rooms. And that was a great visual dungeon, I think, really, and that was here recently. I didn't get the same vibe from these dungeons.
Yeah, these just really.
They didn't really seem very detailed or really next level on the design. It was just kind of all right, we're going through a cave or we're going through a big building and picking a fight.
Yeah, but they're all right. I mean, it was some PvE. We had a good time doing them. They weren't. I certainly didn't think they were bad by any means.
I mean, I'll say that, but the some of the sets that drop from these dungeons, I think there's a lot of good sets that drop from these dungeons.
Some definitely some good sets. I want that Crimson Oath's Rive, I think, is the one.
I'm surprised also in BGs. I haven't seen any of the what is it? The one that makes the sweet loaf.
Oh yeah,
the chef. What is it? What's the name of that one?
Grizzly Gourmet.
Grizzly Gourmet. Oh, it's named after Grizzly Khan. How could I forget the set?
You haven't really seen any of the new sets yet, I don't think. I saw that one like Vortex one that sucks you into the middle.
Okay.
I saw that one time. It was like kind of a low MMR player wearing it, so it wasn't used very effectively. But haven't seen Plague Break at all, which that's the one that I think is coming soon. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times the DLC dungeons are really cool and creative and interesting. These they weren't unenjoyable, but they, like I said, they just kind of seemed run of the mill to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, just average, not bad, not good.
And that's the review for the Waking Flame content. I think mostly what we're excited about with this DLC is just some of the items and sets and stuff that are going to be available and some of the balance changes and feeling that.
I would be willing to bet by this weekend we're going to see a lot of these sets in Battlegrounds.
Yeah. So we talk about Battlegrounds quite a bit around here. It's kind of our thing. And I think we're qualified to talk about what I call the unwritten rules of BGs. All right, these are the things.
Very important. Very important.
They don't teach you this in the tutorial. All right. This is just stuff you pick up over time. If you want to have proper BG etiquette, and you don't want people to think you're a total noob, you got to do these things.
It's important. It's important stuff.
So here we go. Number 1. This one's very important. If an enemy kills you, you must immediately look at the scoreboard and compare your kill counts and see who's doing better.
Yes. Absolutely.
That is imperative. All right, you have to do that as soon as you die.
Every death.
You have to look. You have to pull up F5 if you're on PC. F5 to pull up the scoreboard. Okay, who killed me? How many kills do they have? How many deaths? How many kills and deaths do I have? Yeah. Oh, here's the thing. I was thinking about this. Either whatever you find on that scoreboard is going to make you feel better. Okay, like if you look and say like, oh, they have a lot more kills than me. They're a pretty good player. I guess I don't feel so bad about getting killed by them. Or, oh, I have twice as many kills as them. They're a noob. I don't, even though I died, I'm still doing better than them.
I see. I haven't. I'm a little different on this. I pull it up, and it's if it's one of those matches where there's just phenomenal players, it's going poorly. I have to pull it up to see, okay, am I embarrassing myself in this match? Like at the end of this match, is it going to be embarrassing? Or there's those other matches,
there
where
is
you're
that
just,
sometimes.
You're just on a roll where you pull it up and you're just like, I'm the master. Look at this score. Right. Everybody in this match will now know my name after this match. Now, you got to check that. Yeah, I got to check that every time too.
This is an important part of that too. So when you're comparing your kill counts to whoever killed you, I always subtract the deaths. All right. Yes. If they have 10 kills, 8 deaths, then in my mind they have 2 kills.
Yep.
So I might have like 7 kills and 3 deaths, but in my mind I have more kills than they do, right? Because when you subtract the deaths,
nothing is worse than those players that have the double-digit kill counts, but also the double-digit deaths. When they're like 12 and 12, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, because they negate each other. You're like you're giving kills away.
There's nothing in that. It's you're killing a lot of people, but you're just dying in a crazy amount of times too.
Yeah, and like giving points and kills to the other teams.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, not dying is just as important as getting kills. Maybe even more important.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's rule number 1. Number 2, if the same enemy kills you more than once, they are your sworn nemesis for the rest of the match. Only go after that player, nobody else.
Absolutely.
Listen, these are the unwritten rules of BGs, all right? You don't want to be a noob, do you?
You got to learn this stuff. Start taking notes.
Take notes. Yep, the SpongeBob meme with the pencil and pad.
Yep. They immediately become the focus if they kill you more than once. That's the thing. Now, here's another note that's important. If they kill you like 3 times without you getting a kill, immediate demoralization and you
quit the match.
Yeah. It's the match. You're done at that point. You can't come back from that. You can't come back from that. Now, if you kill them 3 times in a row, you just sit back and wait for the hate sale. Very important. Very important.
Whisper them and call them a noob. Always chase sorcerers.
Yep. This is rule number 3. This is an important one. Rule number 3.
They must be punished.
Always run down the sorks. Will you catch them? Absolutely not. But always...
You're not going to catch them, but you might.
But
you might.
But you might. And that 1 in 10 times that you do catch them, boy, is that a glorious moment.
Well... Now, you have to be sure, if you want to do it right, you have to be sure to expend your entire stamina bar in pursuit of the sorcerer so that as soon as you catch them, they streak through you and you can't break free and then they just kill you. That's the way you do it.
Always chase down the streaker.
They must be punished for using streak.
Run down that streaker. That's the one.
They're not going to get away with it. So you just got to do it. Chase sorks. Always focus werewolves.
Oh, man, yeah.
If there's a werewolf, doesn't matter how tanky they are, they're probably extremely tanky. Just only attack the werewolf until they're dead. And if they never die, you're just not going to get a kill that match, I guess.
Yeah. They're big, usually annoying, but this is the equivalent of when someone is a werewolf in a BG, that's the equivalent of them doing a aggro. They're pulling aggro, all right?
Yeah, they're taunting you.
They're doing a taunt on you in Battlegrounds. You just have to go. You have to go and focus that character.
You must focus the werewolves. It's just how it is. Don't ask me why. It just has to happen.
You just can't avoid it. There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. You just got to focus the werewolf. What, are you going to not focus the werewolf? Get out of here. Next rule, I don't know what number we're on. But,
hold on, let's see. We can count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rule 5. We've got these in memory, by the way. Don't you worry.
I didn't number them on the outline. It's just bullet points.
We know these by memory.
Like for like specs must duel at some point in the BG. Right? So if you're a StamPlar, if there's an enemy StamPlar on the map somewhere, the two of you have to get a 1v1 going at some point and just settle it once and for all.
We like to call that a good old-fashioned jab off.
If it's Templars, you get yourself a good old-fashioned jab off.
Just a good old-fashioned jab off. That's not being bleeped out, and just a jab off. All right, just.
Or if it's two MagDKs or whatever, just like for like specs, the two of you got to get a 1v1. You just got to settle it. Which one's better?
Sure.
It's just got to be done.
Hey, a DK leap off also great.
Sure. Rule number 6: my team sucks.
Yep. Your team sucks. My team sucks.
Yep. Any shortcomings that I might experience just because my team didn't support me enough, or they just were dying too much, or it's their fault somehow.
Here's the thing. If you lose in a BG, your team sucks. We all know it. Everybody knows
the reason.
It. That's what happened.
Very important, most important part, you have to state as much in guild chat afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
If you're in a Battlegrounds focused guild like we are, and as soon as the match is over, you have to jump in guild chat and be like, "Man, my team sure was bad, right, guys?"
Our team was bad.
And they have to agree, too. They have to acknowledge, like, yeah, you got the short end of the stick there. And in no way is anyone allowed to surmise that perhaps it was your own shortcomings in any way. No way.
No.
No way.
No. That doesn't happen.
In fact, there are no good or bad players. This is the next rule. There are only tryhards. And everyone else are role players.
Yeah.
Those are the only two types of players there are. And it can change. You can be one
interchangeable.
in
you
one
can
match.
be one from one match. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and different one the next match. Absolutely. If someone kills you, it's because they're tryhards, right? You could have avoided that. They were just trying too hard. Stupid tryhards. And if you're just trample stomping over other teams, they're just PvE role players trying to get their dailies in, and that's just it. Those are two categories of players.
You get a good kill count going, you're just playing a bunch of role players. That's what's
these are all role players here. But if you're on the receiving end of that, look at these tryhards. Makes me sick.
Nothing's worse than a tryhard trying to win. Just.
You got to be a hypocrite a little bit to do it right. It's part of the etiquette.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's you can't even learn the rules unless you get a little bit of hypocritism. That's got to happen. That has to happen before the rules get into place. That's
hypocrisy. Okay, it's a big part of Battlegrounds.
There's absolutely nothing in between a tryhard and a role player. Nothing in between
there. Using good abilities is cheating. For example, Streak or Cloak or Mist Form or any ultimate.
Yeah,
they're all forbidden. They're cheaters. You use those abilities, you're cheating.
Yep.
There's probably some others.
Sure. Sometimes Sub-Assault, sometimes Blast Bow.
I would say Streak, Cloak, and Mist Form are the three main offenders. Those are the ones that are just like, I'm angry at the person for slotting that ability and using it. Even though... What, are you going to be a Sork and not use Streak? Of course not. You're going to use Streak.
We talked about this in our Battlegrounds before the recording here. Time stop.
Time stop. I don't like time stop.
Don't time stop. Don't cheat.
I'm going to report you for using that.
Clearly the devs did not mean for those abilities to exist in game.
Yeah.
That is a mistake that they have not quite fixed yet.
So those abilities, you're cheating if you're using those. It's just how it is.
How about when you have a Sork that streaks, somehow you magically do catch up with them, they go into misform.
That's just... I've seen it. It's like, how are you going to have Streak and Mistform slotted? That would be like one or the other would be the decision you're making there. But no, they have both. Cool, neat.
Those are double cheaters is what those are.
I'm reporting them right away.
Oh, yeah.
Davies, this one it was your addition to the list. Yep. Every class except the one you're playing is OP, and that one's true. That is actually
absolutely true. You're on a Warden, Necro, StamPlar, StamDK, those classes, MagSork, those are crazy OP. But you switch characters maybe a couple matches later, wardens immediately become OP.
Oh, no. My warden, I built my warden fairly.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. I didn't use any of those cheater abilities.
No. Not at all. But those other wardens, when you're not on your warden,
they're doing it wrong. They're slotting abilities that you're not supposed to use.
Nothing's worse when, you're playing against some other classes and they're clearly those OP classes.
It really is sometimes. Like, I'm like in a BG playing, and it's like I'm getting angry at like every spec that I come across that isn't the one that I'm playing. You get that bias for sure.
My favorite is when that's happening, and then we'll switch characters. We'll go to those OP classes, and then we'll play against characters that are on the classes we just got off. Like, you know what? They're just. That's when you go back to Rule 7. They're using abilities that are cheating.
Oh yeah, and they're tryhards.
There's a lot of There's a lot of bouncing back and forth between the rules.
Yeah.
You hit that 7, 8, 9 rules. You got the tryhards or cheating abilities, and those other classes can be OP. The ones you're not
on. Last rule: Nightblades suck. Not allowed in BGs. Get
My feedback on this for Rule 10: Nightblades suck.
Nightblades are not allowed. Get them out of here. Nightblades, actually, just real talk. Nightblades are in a much better spot for Battlegrounds than they used to be, and I actually do see them genuinely contributing to fights and pulling their weight in a way that they haven't in past metas. So that's the real talk. But I really hate Nightblades. Like going against them, especially now that they actually are good. Like before it was just like, oh, annoying, they're invisible, I can't find them, but I can just kind of ignore them and they'll go away. But now it's like, no,
now they
invisible,
can kill you again.
You can't find them, and you can't just ignore them. It's a problem.
They'll kill you again now.
Yeah, they will.
Here's the thing, and Nightblades, man, they're on the rise right now. In that single queue BGs, the solo queue, that's the Nightblades place right now.
Jock Professor, we are well-documented Nightblade haters, all right? This can't come as a surprise.
We have broken Dr. Professor's heart. He likes his Nightblade. He's having a tough moment right now.
Hey, my PvE main is a MagBlade. Does that
counts. Help? Counts for something.
He's awesome. He's great at PvE.
Here's the best way I can explain Nightblades for me, how I feel about them. I have a Nightblade. I have one StamBlade. That's my werewolf character. I don't actually use the Nightblade side of the character. That character is a werewolf.
That's funny. Maybe one of these days I'll make a PvP StamBlade, but I don't know. Something in me is just like, don't do that. There's enough of them out there. There's plenty of StamBlades out there.
And it's, with this new patch, it's probably going to get a little bit worse because you're not going to be able to pull them out of stealth as easily. I'm interested to see what that turns into.
I think our next episode, we're going to have a lot more to say about BGs because we've only gotten to do a handful and people haven't really even gotten their builds figured out yet. I think here in a couple of weeks, we're going to really see what's going on and we'll have a lot more to say about that. Because, I haven't really gotten a good sense of like how stealth feels right now or how it feels to go up against stealth enemies.
If it's reading like I think it is, then I could see Nightblades going right up next to that Sork in a BG, kind of that just a mess to deal with.
Oh yeah, they're already pretty close to that right now. This might just be that extra little nudge over the edge that honestly they do need. I think just a little bit of a boost, but I don't like saying that, but I do think it's true.
Retract it now.
Yeah.
They're just tough. I mean, when you play in a character that same thing, Nightblades and Sorks, it just boils down to you just can't get a hold of them, and they can hit you hard when they want to, and they're so difficult to get a hold of.
Man, a really good Nightblade. I would rather take on any Sork than like a truly masterful StamBlade ganker
that you're just never gonna hit, and they'll just.
And they're masters of movement, and they use that cloak in such clever ways where they kind of lead you to think they're going this way, but actually that's not where they're going at all, and there's some really, really amazing Stam Blades out there. And then when they do hit you with that combo out of stealth, man, you had better be ready.
The Nightblade version of the streak and misform is the Nightblades that that have the stealth and the rewind ability.
Or the teleport shade.
Or the teleport shade. The teleport shade and the rewind.
Well, the teleport shade, the rewind's nice because it can also kind of be a heal as well, the ultimate, but that's an ultimate. The teleport shade, man, you can use that as much as you want. Using stealth combined with that's just straight trolling. That's cheating. Yeah.
Back to Rule 7. I don't know if you'll remember this, but we were in the sewers one time, in Imperial City sewers, and we were fighting a Nightblade that was just a masterful of the rewind and then the nightshade, that had the shade ability. And I think at one point it got to like 15 players trying to take this player out, and just it just slipping right through all of our fingers. Yeah. I think at one point me and you we just stood there and just kind of pulled our hands off the keyboard and just said, wow, we're not going to get this guy. It's not going to happen.
They can be so slippery. And I've even seen Nightblades that like don't use cloak, but they do use the teleport shade. Like that's their preferred escape tool. And honestly, it's kind of superior in a lot of ways. It actually gets you out of the situation. Yeah. Like you're not there anymore. So anyway, Nightblades suck. Nightblades suck. Emails and shout outs. No emails this week, but shout out to Dr. Professor for once again keeping the streak alive, joining us in the live chat while we record the episode. Thank you very much, Dr. Professor.
Yep. Always appreciate it. Hopefully you'll forgive us about our Nightblade comments.
We have a guild named Stoon's Goons, so if you want to, be in a guild.
Started so strong.
If you want to be in a guild that technically exists, Stoon's Goons might be the guild for you.
It's just like a roller coaster that just, somebody broke.
I thought that was a pretty good plug. What else can you say about Stoon's Goons? I challenge you, sir.
The best guild in the game.
Wow.
Best guild in the game. There we go.
Wow.
Look,
okay.
I mean, I guarantee you, old Uncle Sam. He's wearing the student set. Got to get that guy a hat and a t-shirt. He's gonna be repping proudly. You always start, here's our guild, Students Goons. We're a lot of fun, and then it just kind of turns in. Well, I don't know.
I never claimed to be fun. let the record show. I did not say that.
I said nothing about fun. I just said that we were a guild in the game.
I said that we were technically a guild that exists. Okay.
It always starts out so positive, and then you always talk yourself into this. I don't know. We're there.
That's why I thought I would just. That's why I thought I would just start right off the bat this time. Just get straight to it. Like, hey guys, it's a guild. It exists. If you want to join it, do it. The end.
Somehow we start off as this like exciting new thing, and by the end of your plug, we're a door-to-door salesman.
No, it's not. I don't think of it like that because we're not really trying to sell it.
We're even better. We're a terrible door-to-door salesman.
It's just like a friendly reminder. You want to slam your door
on us? Sure, go ahead, slam it.
Listen, we got the name Stoon's Goons. What are we gonna not have the guild? It's like such a great name.
We're in this now. That's.
Anyone listening wants to volunteer to be the guild manager or whatever you call it and like schedule events and like make it a real thing. Hit me up, scrolledpodcast@gmail.com. You're hired.
Your Students Goons plug at this point is, well, we already made the guild.
It's too good of a name to delete the guild.
That's your plug. Well, we've already started this thing. That's, what else are we going to do?
I just need someone to steer the ship and to like just be like, yeah, there's an event, and then they just do it, So scrolledpodcast@gmail.com if that sounds like fun to you.
Oh, man.
Or if you'd like to email us about anything else, suggestions for the show, questions you'd like to hear us talk about on the show, if you want to tell us a joke or just say hello, anything at all, scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. I think that's all we have to say. Anything else, Davius?
That's a cast.
All right, we're going to call it right there. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.